Well, I want to begin the questioning by framing the issue for us. The basic point that we want to learn is what did the senior military leadership know about Corporal Tillman's death? When did they know it? And what did they do after they learned it? At our last hearing, we reviewed a document known as Personal 4 or a P4 memo. This memo was sent on April 28, 2004 by Major General Stanley McChrystal, the commander of the Joint Task Force in Afghanistan, where Corporal Tillman was killed in 2004. General McChrystal sent this P4 memo to three people: General Abizaid from Central Command, General Brown from U.S. Special Operations Command, and General Kensinger from the Army Special Operations Command. The purpose of this P4 was to have one or more of these generals warn President Bush, the Secretary of the Army, and other national leaders that it was, quote, highly probable or highly possible that an ongoing investigation was about to conclude that Corporal Tillman was killed by his own unit. General McChrystal explained why this P4 message was so important. He stated, I quote, "I felt that it was essential that you received this information as soon as we detected it in order to preclude any unknowing statements by our country's leaders which might cause embarrassment if the circumstances of Corporal Tillman's death became public." Well, this P4 memo was sent on April 29th, 1 week after Corporal Tillman's death. This was 4 days before the memorial service at which the Tillmans and the nation were told Pat Tillman was killed by hostile fire. And this was an entire month before the Pentagon told the Tillman family and the public that Corporal Tillman was killed by U.S. forces. For today's hearing, we invited all of the recipients of the P4 to determine how they responded. Did they in fact alert the White House? Did they alert the Army Secretary, the Secretary of Defense? Did they pass it up the chain of command? One of the addressees is General Kensinger. He refused to appear voluntarily and apparently evaded service of the committee's subpoena, so he's not here today. But we do have two of the other addressees of the P4 memo, General Brown and General Abizaid, as well as General Myers, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Secretary Rumsfeld. They are appearing here today voluntarily, and I thank you all for being here. They've had distinguished careers and have served our nation with honor. They are continuing to serve their country by cooperating with this congressional investigation. General Abizaid, let me start with you. If you look closely at the P4, the third and fourth lines actually have different levels of addressees. General Brown and General Kensinger were listed as info, which I understand is the equivalent of a CC, a carbon copy. But you were listed as a 2. So General McChrystal really wanted this to go to you. When did you receive this memo?
I believe that the earliest I received it was on the 6th of May.
6th of May. And why did it take so long?
Well, let me explain the timing sequence, if I may, Congressman, starting from the 22nd, as I saw it. Would that be helpful?
Sure.
On the 22nd, the incident occurred. I believe about the 23rd, General McChrystal called me and told me that Corporal Tillman had been killed in combat and that the circumstances surrounding his death were heroic. I called the chairman and discussed that with the chairman. Throughout that period, I was in Iraq, Qatar, etc. On the 28th, I went to Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, I met with General Olson and General Barno, our commanders there, and I also had the chance to talk to the platoon leader, who was Corporal Tillman's platoon leader. And I asked him about the action, and he gave no indication that there was a friendly fire issue. On the 29th, General McChrystal sent his message, and it went to my headquarters in Tampa, and it was not retransmitted for reasons of difficulties with our systems within the headquarters until the 6th at the earliest, and it could have been later that I received it. But it's my recollection then on the 6th, probably the 6th, it's a guess, I can't be sure exactly the date, I called the chairman, I told the chairman about having received General McChrystal's message, that friendly fire was involved. I essentially...
You immediately told the chairman?
As soon as I saw the message, and I can't remember how the existence of the message came to my attention, but it was known within my staff that something was out there. And we found it. I called the chairman, I told the chairman about it, and it was my impression from having talked to the chairman at the time that he knew about it.
Okay. Your staff seemed to know about it. Was that they knew there was a memo, or that they had heard that might have been friendly fire?
I think they had heard that there was an investigation ongoing within the Joint Special Operations Command.
Mm-hmm. So you actually received the P4 memo a week after it was written, but it was also 3 weeks before the memorial service, where the family still didn't know. At your chain of command, you were the commander of CENTCOM. You had a direct reporting requirement to the Defense Secretary. After you read the P4, who did you contact? Just General Myers?
I contacted General Myers, and my responsibility is to report to the Secretary through the Chairman. Mm-hmm. I generally do that. I talked to the Secretary a lot. I talked to the Chairman a lot during this period. But 90% of what I talked to him about was what was going on in Fallujah, what was going on combat operationally throughout the theater. And matter of fact, when I called the Chairman, there was a whole list of other things that I believe I talked to him about concerning circumstances in Fallujah in particular.
What did you say to him about this P4 memo?
I can't remember exactly what I said to him. I said it's clear that there's a possibility of fratricide involving the Tillman case, that General McChrystal has appointed the necessary people to investigate to determine precisely what happened, and that while it's likely that there's fratricide, we'll know for sure after the report is finalized, which will reach me when it gets done.
What did he say to you in response?
Like I say, he gave me the impression, I can't remember his exact words, that he understood that there was an investigation ongoing.
So he seemed to already know about the fact there was an investigation.
He seemed to, yes.
Okay. And what about your own reporting requirement to the Secretary? Did you ever discuss the fratricide investigation with Secretary Rumsfeld or his office?
No, I did not talk to the Secretary that I can recall directly about it until I was back in D.C. around the time period of the 18th through the 20th. And at the time I informed him that there was an investigation that was ongoing and it looked like it was friendly fire.
The P4 memo said the President should be notified that Corporal Tillman was highly possibly killed by friendly fire. What steps did you take to make sure the President received this information?
I notified the Chairman. I never called the President direct on any operational matter throughout 4.5 years of being in the theater.
Okay. Well, General Myers, let's turn to you. You were the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under the Goldwater-Nichols Act of 1986. You were the senior ranking member of the Armed Forces and the principal military advisor to the President and the Secretary of Defense. The P4 was not addressed to you, but General Abizaid just said that he called you and told you about the suspected fratricide. First of all, is that correct? Did he call you?
I can't recall specifically, but it's entirely likely that it's exactly as he recalls it. I would trust his judgment in this matter.
You don't remember what he said or what you said back in that conversation?
No recall of that.
Okay. General Abizaid testified, as you heard, when he called you, you already knew about it. Is that accurate?
Yes. The best I can determine, once I got the letter from the committee and talked to some of the folks on my staff, is that I knew right at the end of April that there was a possibility of fratricide in the Corporal Tillman death and that General McChrystal had started an investigation. So when he called, if he called later than that, then I would have already have known that.
And how would you have known that? Who would have told you?
You know, I can't tell you. I don't know how I knew. To the best of my knowledge, I've never seen this P4. It could have come several ways. The most likely is in our operations shop, we have folks from Special Forces that might have known this and passed it to me at a staff meeting. I can't tell you who passed it to me. I just don't know. Or it could have been, I've read General Schoonmaker's testimony in front, I think, the DODIG, and he said he might have called me. That's another way it could have happened. I just can't recall.
General Myers, you told our staff last night that at the time you received the call from General Abizaid, it was common knowledge that Corporal Tillman had been killed by friendly fire. Is that accurate? Was it common knowledge that fratricide was
if I said that,
likely?
if I said that, it was a mistake. I don't know that it was common knowledge at that point.
But you knew about it, and others around you knew about it.
Yes, and I told, in working with my former public affairs advisor, I said, you know, we need to keep this in mind in case we go before the press. We've just got to calibrate ourselves with this investigation ongoing. We want to be careful how we portray the situation.
Yeah. Well, was it fair to say it was widely known by people in the DOD?
You know, I can't recall. It's just, as General Abizaid said, when he mentioned this to me, we probably talked about a lot of other things, and to include the situation in Fallujah, which was getting a lot of attention at the moment. So I just can't recall.
Okay, thank you.